Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Al Ferguson, and let's queer up politics. Maine's governor beats Trump, restores meals while defending trans kids. The Trump administration has backed down now after a federal court blocked his attempt to cut off school meal funding to Maine, a punishment for the state's refusal to ban transgender girls from girls' sports. Under the recently announced legal settlement, the USDA agreed to restore access to millions in nutrition funding and stop using school meals to enforce President Trump's anti-trans order, at least for now. The move follows a tense February showdown at the White House between Democratic Maine Governor Janet Mills and Donald Trump. Trump demanded she comply with his executive order banning transgender athletes or lose all federal funding. She refused, and in the recent statement, Maine Attorney General Frey said, quote, "It's unfortunate that my office had to resort to federal court just to get USDA to comply with the law and its own regulations. But we are pleased that the lawsuit has now been resolved and that Maine will continue to receive funds as directed by Congress to feed children and vulnerable adults," end quote. Still, Trump's administration is pursuing a separate lawsuit threatening $250 million in education funding. Advocates say this is part of a broader campaign to roll back transgender rights. Meanwhile, the ACLU is tracking over 575 anti-LGBTQ bills nationwide as trans youth remain under political attack, despite making a tiny fraction of student athletes. Well, at the end of the day, congratulations, Maine.
Right.
Donald Trump is a bully.
Mm-hmm.
Period. He's a bully. And whatever, at the particular moment that he wakes up at 2:31 a.m. and says, "Oh, I'd like to do that," that's the decision making that he does. I cannot imagine how pissed off he was on this decision, because there's nothing more, I suppose, that Donald Trump hates than not getting exactly his way. And here was the moment. I watched it live on MSNBC. The mayor of Maine was
The governor.
Thank you. The governor of Maine was in the Oval Office, and he called her out specifically over this issue of nutrition food, and for her to follow his instructions on the executive order. And she politely said, basically, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not what we're going to do. And he flippantly said, "Okay, well, I'll see you in court." Yeah, Donald, you did. How'd you do?
Well, see, now, I applaud, of course, Maine and the governor, but I'm saying this to everybody who watches the show, the allies, and I'm even saying it to the Republican MAGA people. There are less than 10 college transgendered athletes in a sea of 524,000 plus college athletes. There are probably less than 3 single transgendered athletes in the sports field in Maine, and you're going to impact tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people over 3 or 4
food to eat lunch.
So if you are that nasty, that mean, that selfish, that self-centered, the laws are there for a reason, and we're going to do it.
Did you open the dictionary under selfish and self-centered? Didn't you see Donald Trump's picture?
He was conceived under evil. I mean, come on. He came out conceived as evil.
Right.
But I'm just saying that Maine has shown every governor in the state and every politician in the state and every local community leader in the state or the country, to beat Donald Trump, you follow the law.
And fight.
And you fight.
Don't capitulate.
Don't make enemies. Don't tease. Don't, do whatever. Just follow the laws. Let it work out in the system, and eventually you will win. Yeah. And that's just how we're going to have to do it.
Yeah.
Like, the Williams Institute, and it estimates that 1.4% of the youth aged between 13 and 17 identify as transgender. In that region alone, right, that region, it's the Northwest region, or the Northeast region, there is 61,700 youth in that age group, right? And that's
Potential.
That's in the entire region. That's not in Maine. That region includes New York, which is a huge city, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. For you to reduce school funding for an entire state, these are kids that go
And
hungry.
adults.
And adults, right? Like, it's just insanity. It's like, I mean, he's a traitor to democracy. I mean, this is not a patriot. This is not an American patriot. This is not a sane man.
No.
I mean, this is just, the youth, they say this is petty behavior. That's the word, petty, right?
I think it's stronger, but that's
it's
okay.
stronger, right? And it's kind of sociopathic, but he's not really thinking logically, right?
No, he's thinking about his statues and naming shit after himself.
You know, it's just not, I mean, trans kids are kids, right? And we're back to this thing where it's like trying to be empathetic and compassionate, and those things escape him.
You know, I honestly, and I really believe this. This has nothing to do with trans.
No, it has nothing. It's scapegoatism.
It has to do with creating a boogeyman, creating an enemy. So we'll look over here and not look over here. And so let's look over here and focus on the 3 trans athletes
in the state
high
of Maine.
school in the state of Maine, so we can capture Social Security, eliminate US aid, and all of the other terrible things that he doesn't want us to focus on. That's really what is going on here, and the court put a stop to it. Congratulations to the governor of Maine for making sure that happens.
Thank you.
That is a big LGBT story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBT stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.